When I opened my front door, a stranger was pacing through my living room with a clipboard. Camilla was smiling behind him, calling my house a charming little fixer. "You've lived here long enough, Mom," she purred. "The market's hot, we can all benefit." I set down my basket of pie and flowers. "The only thing getting sold tonight is your fairy tale." The smile died on her lips like a candle snuffed out. I'll never forget how the color drained from her face, the exact shade of a woman realizing she'd miscalculated badly. If you're watching this video, give it a like, subscribe to the channel, and tell me in the comments where you're watching from. Now let's get to the story. It was Thursday afternoon when I pulled into my gravel driveway, dust still settling behind my truck. I'd spent the morning at the farmer's market. Mabel's stand had the last of the season's sunflowers, and I'd picked up a fresh peach pie from the church lady's booth. The Tennessee heat hung heavy, cicadas singing their electric chorus through the hills. I barely had my keys out when I heard it. Voices. Male. Unfamiliar. Coming from inside my house, the house Henry and I built with our own hands over 37 years ago, hauling bricks on weekends, mortaring dreams into every wall. My basket hung from my elbow as I pushed the door open slowly. Each footstep on the honey oak floors I'd refinished myself echoed too loud in my ears. And then I saw them. Camilla Jennings stood beside my fireplace, the one Henry and I built from river stone we hauled from the creek, gesturing toward the mantel like she was hosting an HGTV special. A man in a pressed polo shirt was photographing my grandmother's china cabinet with his phone. "The bones are solid," Camilla was saying, her voice bright and confident. "All hardwood. Original fixtures. You won't find craftsmanship like this in new construction." The man nodded, tapping notes into his phone. "And the asking price?" $480,000, she said without hesitation. "Fair market value for the acreage and location. Cash offers preferred, we're motivated sellers." $480,000. The exact appraisal value from my property tax statement. The number locked in my desk drawer upstairs. My vision tunneled. The basket slipped an inch down my arm before I caught it. Then she saw me. Her eyes locked on mine for half a heartbeat, not embarrassed, not apologetic. Calculating. I watched her face shift through micro-expressions like shuffling cards, surprise, irritation, then that practiced smile she wore like armor. "Oh. Mom." Her voice climbed an octave. "I didn't hear you come in." I didn't move. Didn't speak. Just held her gaze. The stranger turned, extending his hand with a professional smile. "Mrs. Jennings? I'm Dale Pritchard from Summit Realty. Your daughter-in-law said you were considering." "Considering." My voice came out flat. I set the basket down on the entry table with deliberate care. "Considering selling my property." Camilla stepped forward, lowering her voice to that confidential tone she used when she wanted something. "I was just exploring options, Mom. This house is a lot for one person to manage." She gestured around like the walls themselves agreed with her. "You've lived a full life here. Wouldn't it be better to liquidate the asset while the market's strong? We could all benefit from." "We." The word hung in the air like a gunshot. Mr. Pritchard cleared his throat, glancing between us like a man who just realized he was standing in a minefield. But I didn't look at him. I kept my eyes on Camilla, this woman who'd come into my home 2 years ago with a suitcase and a smile, who'd slept in my guest room, eaten at my table, married my son in my backyard beneath the oak tree where Henry's ashes rest. "You've lived a full life here." For words that meant, "Your time is up. Move aside. You don't matter anymore." I took a slow breath. Felt my pulse steady. When I spoke again, my voice was calm, the kind of calm that comes before storms. "And you?" I paused, let each word land like a stone in still water. "You've just started ruining yours." Camilla blinked. The smile froze on her face, then cracked. "Excuse me?" I didn't repeat myself. I turned to Mr. Pritchard, who was already tucking his phone into his pocket with obvious haste. Mr. Pritchard, I said with cold courtesy, I apologize for wasting your time. This property is not for sale. It never has been. And whoever told you otherwise has no legal authority over it whatsoever. The realtor's face flushed. I'm very sorry for the confusion, ma'am. He was already moving toward the door. I'll remove this from our system immediately. Camilla lunged toward him. Wait, we can. But he was gone. The screen door slapped shut behind him, and the sound of his engine faded down the driveway. Silence dropped like a curtain. Camilla turned on me, and for the first time since I'd met her, I saw the mask slip. No more sweetness. No more daughterly concern. Just raw fury. How dare you embarrass me like that, she hissed. I was trying to help you. This house is falling apart. You can barely keep up with it. Keep up with it. I walked toward her. I built this house, Camilla. Every wall. Every window. I chose every piece of trim. And you, I stopped 3 feet from her, close enough to see her pupils dilate. You live here because of my charity. You eat my food. Sleep under my roof. And now I find you selling what doesn't belong to you. She went pale. Bone white. I wasn't selling, I was just. What were you doing, Camilla? My voice stayed level, but every word came out sharp enough to cut. Testing the market? Taking offers? Touring buyers through my home while I was out? Tell me, when exactly were you planning to inform me that my house was in escrow? Her mouth opened. Closed. Nothing came out. I took another step. I'm 5'2" on a good day, but at that moment, I felt 10 feet tall. This conversation isn't over, I said quietly. But I'm going to give you some advice. Pray that my son doesn't find out what you tried to do here before I decide how to handle you. I turned and walked toward the stairs, my legs steady even though my heart was hammering against my ribs. I didn't let her see my hands shake. Couldn't let her know that inside, I was splintering. I climbed to the second floor and closed my bedroom door behind me. Locked it. Sat on the edge of my bed, the bed Henry and I shared for 31 years, where I held his hand through his last breaths, where I cried myself hollow after the funeral. Only then did I let the trembling spread through my whole body. You've lived a full life here. As if my life were past tense. As if I were a relic to be cleared out and resold. As if the home I built with my sweat and Henry's calloused hands was just 4 walls and a price tag. I pressed my palms against my knees, forcing air into my lungs. Camilla didn't know me. She'd never asked about the years Henry and I spent saving every dollar from his paper mill paychecks and my teacher's salary. She didn't know we hauled bricks in a borrowed truck on weekends, or that I learned to lay tile from a library book. She didn't know this house was the first property in our family ever fully paid off. No mortgage, no liens, no fear. All she saw was an old woman. An obstacle. A resource to liquidate. But she'd made a mistake. She'd assumed age meant weakness. I stood, walked to the window, and looked out over the hills rolling green and gold under the late afternoon sun. Somewhere down that driveway, Camilla was making her next move. I could feel it like a storm building on the horizon. She thought she could take my home while I was still breathing. She thought I'd go quietly. I smiled, not with warmth, but with the cold certainty of a woman who'd spent 71 years learning exactly how the world worked and how to work it back. Camilla was about to learn something Henry used to say when we were building this place, something he'd tell me when the work got hard and I wanted to quit. Vi, the foundation always wins. You can paint over it, build on it, try to sell it out from under someone, but the foundation decides who stands and who falls. I built this foundation. And I'd be damned if I'd let some spoiled, desperate girl tear it down. That night, I didn't sleep. I sat at my kitchen table with Henry's old coffee mug, the one that said, "World's Best Paper Mill Worker," in faded letters, and watched the darkness outside my window slowly bleed into dawn. Camilla had retreated to the guest bedroom hours ago, her footsteps heavy on the stairs, but I could still feel her presence like smoke lingering after a fire. By 6 a.m., I'd made my decision. I picked up my phone and dialed a number I knew by heart. Loretta Mayfield answered on the second ring, her voice sharp despite the early hour. Viola Jennings, you only call this early when someone's either dead or about to be. Which is it? Neither yet, I said. But I need your help, Loretta. The legal kind. There was a pause, then the sound of sheets rustling. I'll be there in an hour. Put the coffee on. Loretta had been my friend for 43 years, since we'd taught together at Riverside Elementary, back when discipline meant a stern look and education meant actually teaching. After her husband passed, she'd gone to law school at 55, passed the bar at 58, and built a practice defending people the system tried to chew up and spit out. She was smaller than me, barely 5 feet tall, but she had the courtroom presence of a circuit judge and the moral flexibility of a poker player. She arrived wearing sensible flats and carrying a leather briefcase that had seen better days. I poured her coffee, black, 2 sugars, and told her everything. When I finished, Loretta sat back in her chair and studied me over the rim of her mug. You know what you're asking me to do, Vi? You're asking me to investigate your son's wife. Your daughter-in-law. I'm asking you to find out why she tried to sell my house without my knowledge or consent, I said quietly. That's not family business anymore, Loretta. That's fraud. She nodded slowly. Give me 48 hours. Loretta worked fast. By Saturday afternoon, she was back at my kitchen table with a folder thick enough to choke on. Viola, she said, spreading papers across the checkered tablecloth, your daughter-in-law isn't just in trouble. She's drowning. The numbers swam before my eyes. Bank statements. Credit card bills. Investment platform screenshots. Each one worse than the last. Camilla had lost $80,000 in cryptocurrency investments, something called DeFi tokens, that collapsed 6 months ago. She owed another $50,000 across 7 different credit cards, all maxed out. And then there were the private lenders. 3 of them. Threatening letters with language that made my stomach turn. She's been hiding this from Mark? I asked, though I already knew the answer. She's been hiding it from everyone, Loretta said. But here's the kicker, she promised these lenders full repayment within 60 days, or they'd contact Mark directly and expose everything. The deadline is November 15th. I did the math in my head. 17 days from now. Your house, Loretta continued, tapping the appraisal document, is worth $480,000. After closing costs and realtor fees, she'd walk away with roughly $440,000. Enough to pay off everything and still have cash left over. So I'm not her mother-in-law, I said softly. I'm her exit strategy. Loretta's face hardened. You're her victim, Vi. And if we don't stop her, she'll find another way to take what's yours. Mark came by that afternoon. I saw his truck pull up the driveway, heard his boots on the porch steps, the same uneven rhythm he'd had since he was 12 and broke his ankle jumping out of the oak tree. My son. My only child. The boy I'd rocked through nightmares and nursed through pneumonia. The man who'd held my hand at Henry's funeral and promised he'd always take care of me. He looked tired. Older than 34. The lines around his eyes had deepened since he'd lost his job at the auto plant, and his shoulders carried a weight I didn't remember seeing before. Hey, Mama, he said, kissing my cheek. But his voice had a strange edge to it. Cautious. Like he was approaching a skittish animal. Mark. I gestured to the chair Loretta had vacated an hour earlier. Sit. I'll make you a sandwich. I can't stay long, he said, but he sat anyway. I just wanted to check on you. See how you're doing. There it was. That careful tone. That measuring look. I'm fine, sweetheart, I said, pulling ham and cheese from the refrigerator. Why wouldn't I be? He shifted in his chair. Well, Camilla mentioned you seemed a little confused lately. Forgetting things. She said you left the stove on twice this week. My hands stilled on the bread. I haven't used the stove in 3 days, Mark. I've been eating leftovers. And she said you couldn't remember what day your doctor's appointment was. That she had to call and reschedule for you. I turned slowly to face him. I don't have a doctor's appointment scheduled. I went last month. My next one isn't until January. Mark's brow furrowed. That's not what she told me. Mark. I set the sandwich in front of him and sat down. What else has Camilla told you about me? He looked uncomfortable. Just that you've been a little forgetful. Repeating yourself. She's worried about you living alone in this big house. She thinks maybe it's time to consider options. Options. The word tasted like copper. Like selling my home? Maybe something smaller, he said quickly. A condo. One of those nice senior communities with activities in. Your father and I built this house, Mark. We laid every brick. I chose every board. And you want me to move into a condo so I can play bingo with strangers? Mama, I'm just trying to help. Then help me understand why your wife was showing my house to a realtor without my knowledge. Mark's face went blank. What? Thursday afternoon. While I was out. She brought a man named Dale Pritchard through here, quoted him a sale price, discussed closing terms. Did she mention that to you? He stood up. There must be some misunderstanding. Camilla wouldn't. Wouldn't what, Mark? Wouldn't lie to you? Wouldn't manipulate you? Or wouldn't try to sell your mother's house out from under her? His jaw tightened. You're confused, Mama. Camilla's been nothing but good to you. To both of us. She took us in when I lost my job. I took you in, I said quietly. This is my house. My name on the deed. And she's been living here rent-free for 2 years while apparently running up debts you know nothing about. What debts? His voice rose. What are you talking about? I almost told him. Almost laid it all out, the crypto losses, the credit cards, the private lenders. But something in his face stopped me. The defensiveness. The way he was already shaking his head before I'd finished speaking. She'd gotten to him first. Planted her seeds carefully. And now, when I pulled them up, he'd see me as the aggressor. Never mind, I said. You should go home to your wife, Mark. He hesitated, torn between anger and concern. Mama, if you're having memory problems, we should get you checked out. There's no shame in. I remember everything, son. Including who raised you better than this. He flinched. Then grabbed his keys and left without touching the sandwich. I watched his truck disappear down the driveway and felt something crack inside my chest. Not break. Not yet. But crack. Like ice forming on a pond, 1 degree at a time. The gaslighting started in earnest after that. I found my pills rearranged in the cabinet, medications I took at night moved to the morning slot, prescriptions I'd finished weeks ago suddenly back on the shelf. My car keys disappeared from the hook by the door and turned up in the freezer. Appointments I'd never made appeared on the calendar in handwriting that wasn't quite mine. And Camilla. Sweet, concerned Camilla. Asking the mailman if I'd seemed confused lately. Mentioning to the neighbor that Mama Vi's just not herself. Sighing dramatically when I couldn't find things she'd deliberately hidden. I played along. Acted flustered. Apologized. Let her think it was working. But at night, I took notes. Photographed everything. Built my case piece by piece. Then, one afternoon, I heard her on the phone in Mark's old bedroom. The door was cracked, her voice low and urgent. I'm telling you, she's slipping, Camilla said. I've documented everything. The doctor's note is ready. Once we get her declared legally incompetent, the power of attorney kicks in automatically. My blood turned to ice water. No, Mark doesn't suspect anything. He thinks she's just getting old. Forgetful. A pause. By December, this whole house will be in escrow, and she'll be in some state facility where she can't cause problems. I backed away from the door silently, my heart hammering. State facility. Legally incompetent. Power of attorney. She wasn't just trying to steal my house. She was trying to erase me entirely. That evening, while Camilla was at her book club, which I now suspected was a meeting with her shady lawyer, I went into the guest bedroom. Henry always said I had a gift for finding things people didn't want found. 27 years of teaching middle school had honed that instinct to a razor's edge. It took me 15 minutes to find the drawer. It wasn't locked. She was arrogant enough to think I'd never look. Inside, copies of my voter ID. My social security card. My birth certificate. And beneath those, a stack of papers that made my hands shake. A power of attorney document bearing a signature that was supposed to be mine. Close, but not quite right, the loop in the J, too tight, the slant too far forward. A physician's evaluation from a doctor I'd never seen, declaring me in the early stages of dementia. A property transfer form, partially completed, with my forged signature already in place. She'd been planning this for months. Carefully. Methodically. Building her case against my competence while bleeding me dry. I photographed everything with my phone. Then I put it all back exactly as I'd found it. Then I called Loretta. "Bring your quiet shoes, darling," I said when she answered. The hunt just began. Loretta arrived before dawn on Sunday, parking her sedan behind the barn where Camilla wouldn't see it. She came through the back door carrying a toolbox that didn't contain tools. "You sure about this, Vi?" she asked, setting the box on my kitchen counter. "Once we start, there's no going back. You'll have to commit to the performance." I poured her coffee. We'd been running on it for 3 days straight. I spent 30 years managing classrooms full of teenagers who thought they could outsmart me. I know how to play dumb, Loretta. Question is, can you make me look smart later? She smiled, sharp as a knife. Honey, by the time I'm done, she'll be begging for a plea deal. We worked quickly. Loretta installed a microcamera inside the ceiling light fixture in the living room, another in the hallway smoke detector, a third disguised as a screw head in the kitchen. The footage fed directly to a cloud server only she could access, nothing Camilla could find or delete. Then Loretta handed me a silver locket on a delicate chain. It looked like the kind of thing you'd buy at an estate sale, vintage and forgettable. Voice-activated recorder, she said. 30-hour battery life. Picks up everything within 15 feet. Wear it every day. Let her think it's just sentimental jewelry. I opened the locket. Inside were 2 tiny photos, one of Henry, one of Mark as a boy. My throat tightened. Perfect cover, I said softly. Perfect weapon, Loretta corrected. Now, let's talk strategy. The plan was elegant in its simplicity. Phase 1, let Camilla think she was winning. Give her enough rope to hang herself, then document every knot she tied. Phase 2, when we had irrefutable evidence of fraud, forgery, and exploitation, we'd orchestrate a public exposure that would destroy her credibility and her freedom in one fell swoop. You'll need to act confused, Loretta said. Forgetful. Vulnerable. Everything she's already accusing you of being. How confused? Confused enough that she gets bold. Starts talking freely on the phone, stops covering her tracks. But not so confused that your neighbors or Mark start thinking you actually need a conservator. I nodded. I can walk that line. I know you can, Loretta said. You taught 8th grade algebra. This is nothing. The performance began that afternoon. I left my reading glasses on top of the refrigerator. Asked Camilla twice what day it was. Called my neighbor Dorothy by the wrong name when she waved from her porch. Small things. Believable things. Camilla's eyes lit up like she'd won the lottery. You feeling okay, Mom? She asked, her voice dripping with artificial concern. You seem a little scattered today. Do I? I touched my temple, frowning. I suppose I am tired. Maybe I should rest. That's a wonderful idea, she cooed. You rest. I'll handle dinner. I shuffled toward the stairs, playing up a slight hesitation in my step. But as I climbed, I caught her reflection in the hallway mirror. She was smiling. Not kindly. Triumphantly. Got you, I thought. Now let's see how far you'll run with it. The gaslighting intensified immediately. The next morning, I found sticky notes on all my cabinets. Coffee mugs. Cereal. Medicine, take with food. Like I'd forgotten how to operate my own kitchen. My calendar had new entries written in Camilla's looping handwriting. Doctor's appointment, 2 p.m. Tuesday. I didn't have a doctor's appointment. Lunch with Dorothy, Thursday. Dorothy was in Florida visiting her daughter. My pills were rearranged again, this time with a printed schedule taped to the cabinet. Morning medications included a vitamin I'd never taken. The bottle was new, purchased by Camilla, filled with who knows what. I photographed everything. Documented the pills in a Ziploc bag for later testing. Made notes in my real calendar, the one I kept hidden in Henry's old tackle box in the garage. And I played along. Thank you for organizing my medicine, dear, I said sweetly. I was getting so confused. Camilla beamed. Of course, Mom. That's what family's for. The phone call started next. I'd pick up the receiver to call Loretta, and the line would be dead. I'd check, the cord had been unplugged. When I mentioned it to Camilla, she looked concerned. Oh, Mom, you must have accidentally unplugged it when you were dusting. Here, let me help. She plugged it back in, patted my hand like I was a child. But later that day, I caught her in Mark's old bedroom again, whispering into her cell phone. She's going downhill fast, Camilla said. This morning she couldn't remember where she keeps her coffee cups. I had to label everything. The locket around my neck captured every word. The lawyer says we'll need at least 2 more weeks of documentation before we file. But trust me, by Thanksgiving, we'll have her declared incompetent. Then it's just a matter of transferring the assets and finding a facility. A facility. She said it so casually. Like I was a piece of furniture she was donating to Goodwill. I backed away silently, my jaw clenched so tight my teeth ached. In my teaching days, I'd dealt with liars. Kids who'd forge their parents' signatures, fabricate excuses, cheat on tests. The trick wasn't to confront them immediately. The trick was to let them think they'd gotten away with it. Let them grow confident, careless. Then, when they least expected it, you'd present the evidence and watch their world collapse. Camilla was just a bigger child with better forgery skills. Every patronizing smile she gave me, every time she spoke to me like I was slow, every label she stuck on my belongings, it all fed my resolve. I wasn't angry. Anger was hot and reactive. What I felt was cold. Calculated. The kind of feeling that came with years of patience and a long memory. I'd taught for 3 decades. I'd buried a husband. I'd survived poverty and doubt and 1,000 small cruelties the world inflicted on women who refused to be small. Camilla thought she was hunting a frail old woman. She didn't realize she'd walked into a trap set by a predator who'd been perfecting her craft for 71 years. On Wednesday, I, accidentally, found the fake medical note. I was looking for a sweater in the guest room closet, or at least, that's what I told Camilla when she found me standing there, holding the document with trembling hands. It was on a letterhead from Dr. Raymond Kepler, Neurological Specialists of Tennessee. The signature looked official. The diagnosis was clear, early-onset dementia with progressive memory impairment. I'd never heard of Dr. Kepler. A quick Google search on my hidden phone revealed why. The clinic existed, but Dr. Kepler had retired in 2019. The current physician was Dr. Sarah Chen, who I'd never met. The note was a forgery. A good one. But still a forgery. What's this? I asked Camilla, my voice quavering perfectly. She rushed over, snatched it from my hands. "Oh, Mom, that's nothing. Just some paperwork from your last checkup. But I don't remember going to this doctor." "That's exactly why we went, sweetheart. Because you've been forgetting things." She guided me gently toward the door. "Don't worry about it. I'm handling everything." Later, I pulled the footage. Watched her face as she lied to me. The camera caught it all, the fake concern, the condescension, the flicker of satisfaction when I'd looked confused. I sent the clip to Loretta with a single text, "She's getting bold." Loretta's response, "Good. Let her." The breakthrough came on Friday. I was in the garden, pretending to deadhead roses while actually watching the kitchen window. Camilla was on the phone again, pacing back and forth in front of the sink. The locket picked up everything. "I'm telling you, it's working perfectly," Camilla said, her voice sharp with excitement. She can't remember what day it is half the time. "I've got documentation coming out of my ears, missed appointments, repeated questions, forgotten conversations. The lawyer says it's textbook." A pause while she listened. "Once she's declared unfit, it's open season. I file the power of attorney, transfer the property to my name, put it on the market immediately. We close before Christmas, and I'm debt-free by New Year's." Another pause. "Mark? Please." He feels guilty. Guilty people don't ask questions, they just throw money at the problem. And right now, I'm his mother's solution. She laughed. Actually laughed. The best part? When she ends up in some state memory care facility, she won't even remember she owned a house. It's like the perfect crime, except it's not even a crime. It's just estate planning. My hands clenched around the pruning shears. But I kept my face neutral, my posture hunched and harmless. After a moment, Camilla hung up and went back to whatever she was doing. I stayed in the garden another 20 minutes, giving her time to forget I was there. Then I went to Loretta's office. We sat in Loretta's small conference room, the recording playing through her laptop speakers. When it finished, Loretta sat back and grinned like a shark smelling blood. "Open season," she repeated. "The perfect crime. Oh, Vi. She just handed us everything. Is it enough?" I asked. "Enough to charge her?" "Yes. Enough to convict her?" "With the forged documents, the financial motive, and this recording?" "She'll plead out before we even get to trial." We looked at each other, and despite everything, the betrayal, the manipulation, the sheer audacity of what Camilla had tried to do, we started laughing. Quiet at first, then harder. The kind of laughter that comes from tension breaking like a wire snapped too tight. "She thinks she's so smart," I said, wiping my eyes. "They always do," Loretta replied. "Right up until they're not." That night, I sat at my kitchen table with Henry's old journal, the one where he documented every step of building our house. His handwriting was careful, methodical. Notes about lumber prices and foundation depth and the exact angle of the sun through the living room windows in December. I turned to a blank page in the back and wrote in my own careful script. Lesson number 1, when they think you're stupid, they talk freely. Lesson number 2, never interrupt your enemy when she's making a mistake. Lesson number 3, the best traps are the ones they walk into willingly. I closed the journal and looked around my kitchen, at the labels Camilla had stuck everywhere, the pills she'd rearranged, the fake calendar entries designed to make me doubt my own mind. Let her have her labels. Let her have her fake concern and her patronizing smiles. I had something better. I had the truth. And a voice recorder. And a lawyer who knew exactly how to use both. The performance would continue. I'd stumble and forget and play the role she'd written for me. But every word she spoke, every lie she told, every piece of evidence she created thinking it would bury me, it was all tightening the noose around her own neck. And when the time came, I'd pull it tight. The real estate listing went live on a Tuesday. I found it at 2 in the morning, scrolling through my phone, unable to sleep. I typed my own address into the search bar, half expecting nothing, half dreading everything. There it was. Professional photos of my living room, my kitchen, my front porch. Charming 2-story farmhouse on 3.5 acres. Original hardwood, stone fireplace. $480,000. Cash offers only. Contact C. Jennings. At the bottom, one name in the interested parties section, Matteo Lozano. I screenshot everything and sent it to Loretta. Then I did something Camilla would never expect from a confused old woman. I called Mr. Lozano myself. We met at the diner on Route 47, far enough from town that Camilla wouldn't see us. Matteo Lozano was younger than I expected, early 30s, sharp suit, nervous energy. He slid into the booth across from me, eyeing the peach pie I'd ordered for him with suspicion. Mrs. Jennings, he said carefully, I'm not sure what this is about, but... Eat your pie, Mr. Lozano. Then we'll talk. He blinked. Then, slowly, picked up his fork. I let him take 3 bites before I spoke. That listing you responded to? It's fraudulent. The woman who contacted you doesn't own that property. I do. She's my daughter-in-law, and she's trying to sell my house to cover debts she's hidden from my son. Matteo set down his fork. Ma'am, if this is some kind of family dispute. It's fraud, I said simply. And I can prove it. I slid a folder across the table. Inside, copies of my deed, Loretta's financial investigation, screenshots of Camilla's debts, photographs of the forged documents. Matteo read in silence. When he looked up, his expression had changed. Holy hell. I need you to keep talking to her. Act interested. Record your conversations. Tennessee's a one-party consent state. Can you do that? He was quiet for a long moment. Then he smiled, not friendly, but respectful. My grandmother lost her house to a scam artist when I was in college. Took us 2 years to get her stable again. He extended his hand. I'm in. We shook on it. I cut him another slice of pie. If you help me nail her, I added, I'll genuinely sell you the house when I'm ready. Fair market value. No games. His eyebrows rose. Deal. The financial bait was Loretta's idea. Transfer $5,000 into the joint household account, she said over the phone. Make it look like a CD matured. She'll see it as easy money. And then? I've set up a fraud alert with the bank. The second she tries to move that money anywhere but household expenses, it triggers a hold and an investigation. We'll have documented proof of financial exploitation. I made the deposit Wednesday morning. By afternoon, Camilla had noticed. Mom, she called from the kitchen, voice bright and false. Did you see this? $5,000 just appeared in the account. I shuffled in, playing my role. Did it? Where did that come from? Dividend payment from Riverside Community Bank. She turned to me, eyes wide. Did you have money invested there? Oh, yes. Henry set something up years ago. I'd forgotten. We should move it somewhere safe. Maybe I can transfer it to that high-yield savings account I told you about. If you think that's best, dear. I watched her face. Watched the calculation behind her eyes. By Thursday morning, Loretta called. She took the bait. Tried to transfer $4,800 to an account under her name only. The bank froze it and flagged the transaction. They've opened an investigation. Perfect. Vi, she's getting desperate. Desperate people get dangerous. Be careful. The notary ambush came Friday afternoon. Camilla burst into the living room where I was pretending to read. Mom, I need your help. There's a notary coming by in an hour, routine paperwork for the household accounts. Insurance stuff. You just need to sign a few forms. My heart rate spiked, but I kept my face placid. A notary? Today? It'll only take a minute. She was already steering me toward the dining room. The notary arrived at 3 o'clock. Young man, early 20s, wrinkled suit that didn't fit right. He carried a briefcase that looked like it came from a costume shop. Mrs. Jennings, I'm Thomas Whitaker, certified notary. Just need your signature on a few documents. Camilla hovered behind him, smile stretched tight. The locket around my neck recorded everything. I sat down slowly. Thomas spread papers across my table. Power of attorney. Property transfer authorization. A quitclaim deed. All with signature lines waiting for my name. Now, Mrs. Jennings, these are just standard estate planning documents, Thomas said, trying too hard to sound official. I picked up the pen. Let it hover over the first line. Then frowned. What's today's date? November 10th, Thomas said quickly. Are you sure? I thought it was the 8th. Camilla leaned forward. It's the 10th, Mom. Look, it's right there on the form. I squinted at the paper. The date read November 8th, 2025. 2 days ago. But you just said it was the 10th. Thomas blinked. Looked at Camilla. She gave him a sharp look. I meant, yes, sorry, it's the 8th. I misspoke. So why does this other form say the 10th? Camilla's jaw tightened. Mom, does it really matter? Just sign. I want to make sure I get the dates right. Henry always said to check the dates on important papers. Thomas was sweating. He glanced at Camilla, and she made a subtle gesture. Mrs. Jennings, in notary work, sometimes we predate documents for processing efficiency. It's perfectly legal. It absolutely was not. I don't know, I said, setting down the pen. I'm feeling confused. Maybe we should do this another day. Mom, Camilla's voice had an edge now. I'm sorry, dear. I just need to rest. I stood, steadying myself on the table. Mr. Whitaker, thank you for coming. Perhaps next week? Thomas was already packing his fake briefcase, clearly relieved. Of course, ma'am. No problem. Camilla saw him to the door. The locket caught their whispered conversation. She's getting suspicious, Thomas said. If she reports me. She won't. She can barely remember her own name. Just give me a few more days. You said this would be easy money. I want my $500, but I'm not going to jail for. You'll get your money when I get mine. Now go. The door slammed. I watched through my bedroom door crack as Camilla pulled out her phone. We have a problem, she said. She didn't sign. I need the commitment papers ready by Monday. I don't care what it costs, find me a doctor who'll sign off on the evaluation. And make sure it's backdated. I closed my doors silently, hands shaking. Not from fear. From rage so pure it felt like ice. The weekend was poison. Creditors started calling. I heard Camilla in the guest room, voice rising. I told you, the money's coming. I just need 2 more weeks. Saturday afternoon, Mark came by. Camilla intercepted him in the driveway. I watched from the kitchen window as she gestured frantically, touching his arm, leaning close. When they came inside, Mark's face was stormy. Mama, we need to talk. Camilla says you've been acting erratic. Aggressive. She says yesterday you threatened the notary. I didn't threaten anyone, I said calmly. I asked to reschedule because I was confused about the dates. She says you threw the papers at him. That's not true, Mark. He looked torn. Camilla put her hand on his shoulder. Baby, maybe we should call Dr. Patterson. Get your mom evaluated. For her own safety. I don't need to be evaluated. I need my son to trust me over a woman he's known for 3 years. Mark's face hardened. That woman is my wife, Mama. He left without another word. Camilla followed, throwing me a look of pure venom. The house fell silent. Poisonously silent. I sat at my kitchen table and made a decision. Enough surveillance. Enough patience. Time to end this. I pulled out my good stationery and wrote 3 invitations by hand. 1 to Mark. 1 to Camilla. 1 to Loretta. You are cordially invited to Sunday dinner at the Jennings residence. November 19th, 6 p.m. We'll be discussing the future of the estate and making important decisions as a family. Please dress nicely. This will be a special occasion. I sealed them in envelopes. Delivered Mark and Camilla's to the guest room while they were out. Mailed Loretta's with a second note inside. Stage is set. Bring your audience. Then I opened Henry's journal and wrote. Lesson number 4, the best revenge is served on your grandmother's china, with witnesses present and exits blocked. Sunday was 6 days away. 6 days to perfect my trap. 6 days for Camilla to walk into it. Sunday arrived draped in gold light, the kind of November afternoon that makes Tennessee look like a painting. I spent all morning cooking, Henry's pot roast, buttermilk biscuits, green beans with bacon, sweet potato casserole with pecans on top. The kind of meal that takes all day and fills a house with the smell of home. I set the table with my wedding china, delicate floral pattern Henry and I had saved for months to afford. Linen napkins. Crystal glasses. Candles and silver holders polished to mirror shine. Southern femininity weaponized. Camilla came downstairs at 5:30, dressed in cream and pearls. She paused in the doorway, surprised. Mom, this is beautiful. You did all this yourself? I did. Tonight's important. I want everything perfect. She smiled, that practiced, empty smile. I'm so glad you're finally ready to talk about the house. I didn't correct her. Just gestured toward the living room. Guests will be here soon. Guests. Her smile faltered. I thought this was just family. It is. And a few dear friends. Loretta arrived first at 6, carrying wine and a briefcase she set by the door. She squeezed my hand twice, our signal. Matteo Lozano knocked next, uncomfortable in a suit jacket. When Camilla answered, confusion crossed her face. Mrs. Jennings invited me, he said. We've been talking about the property. Camilla's eyes lit up. Mr. Lozano, of course. Come in. Then came Robert and Linda Mitchum, 2 undercover detectives posing as old teaching friends. Robert had gray hair and kind eyes. Linda wore a floral dress and moved with the confidence of someone who'd spent 20 years catching liars. Mark arrived last, tired but dressed nicely. He hugged me stiffly. What's this about, Mama? Family business. And closure. We gathered around the table. I'd arranged seating carefully, Camilla at one end, me at the other. Mark beside his wife. Loretta across from them. Matteo and the Mitchums filling the sides, creating a circle with no easy exit. I served the meal myself. Pot roast, warm biscuits, careful conversation about weather and local news. Camilla kept glancing at Matteo, calculating, but she played along, laughing at the right moments, touching Mark's arm. After dessert, my pecan pie, I stood and tapped my glass. Before we finish, I want to say a few words. Everyone quieted. Camilla's smile was bright, expectant. When Henry and I built this house, we promised it would always be filled with truth. With honesty. With family who loved each other more than money. I paused. Tonight, I want to honor that promise. I want to show you all the truth. Loretta pulled a laptop from her briefcase. A small projector threw white light onto the wall. I've prepared a short video, I said. Just a few minutes. Camilla's smile wavered. Mom, what? Please. Just watch. I pressed play. The first clip showed Camilla in my kitchen 3 weeks ago, counting cash from my purse. Her voice clear, she won't even notice. Stupid old woman leaves money everywhere. Mark's fork clattered onto his plate. Second clip, Camilla on the phone. I've documented everything. Once we get her declared legally incompetent, the power of attorney kicks in automatically. Gasps. Mark's face went white. Third clip, the fake notary appointment. Camilla coaching Thomas in whispers, just get her signature. She's too confused to know the difference. Mark stood abruptly. What the hell is this? Camilla lunged for the laptop. Loretta pulled it away. Sit down, Camilla. The final clip played. Camilla on the phone, once she's declared unfit, it's open season. Transfer the property, close before Christmas, debt-free by New Year's. Mark? Please. Guilty people don't ask questions. When she ends up in some state facility, she won't even remember she owned a house. Cold laughter. The screen went black. Silence crashed down. Mark turned to his wife. Tell me this isn't real. She opened her mouth. Closed it. Panic bloomed in her eyes. It's edited, she said. She manipulated the footage. She's been paranoid. Paranoid, I repeated softly. Is that what you told the fake notary? Loretta stood, spreading documents across the table. Bank statements. Credit cards. Investment screenshots. The forged power of attorney. The fake medical evaluation. 80,000 in crypto losses, Loretta recited. 50,000 in credit card debt. 3 private lenders threatening exposure unless she paid within 60 days. She needed 400,000. Your mother's house was worth 480. Mark stared. You lost $80,000? Baby, I can explain. You forged documents to have my mother declared incompetent? I was trying to protect us. She managed to catch you, I said. Every lie. Every theft. Every fraud. I documented it all. Camilla whirled on me. You manipulative bitch. I gave you rope. You hanged yourself. Mark sank into his chair, head in hands. Mateo spoke quietly. She contacted me 3 weeks ago. Showed me this house, quoted a price, said the owner was elderly and ready to sell. When Mrs. Jennings told me the truth, I wore a wire. He pulled out a recording device. I have 6 hours of her trying to sell property she doesn't own. Camilla's face crumpled. This is entrapment. Actually, said Robert, standing smoothly, it's evidence. He pulled a badge from his jacket. Linda did the same. Detective Robert Mitchum, Financial Crimes Unit. Detective Linda Park. Camilla Hart Jennings, you're under arrest for fraud, forgery, attempted theft, and elder exploitation. Camilla backed against the wall. No. Mark, do something. But Mark was staring at a document, his face gray. These signatures, he whispered. On the account forms. These aren't mine. She forged them using your electronic signature, Loretta said gently. Mark looked at his wife, and something broke behind his eyes. Detective Park read Camilla her rights while Mitchum pulled out handcuffs. Camilla screamed. You'll die alone in that relic. Alone and miserable. I met her eyes, feeling nothing but cold satisfaction. Alone is quiet, I said softly. But quiet is victory. The handcuffs clicked shut. They led her out past the porch Henry and I built, down steps we'd laid together. Her screaming faded. Red and blue lights painted the trees. The siren wailed once, then died as the car pulled away. Mark sat surrounded by evidence, face in his hands. Loretta packed quietly. Mateo shook my hand. If you ever do want to sell, Mrs. Jennings, you know where to find me. The detectives took statements and left. Loretta hugged me tight. You did it, Vi. We did it. When everyone had gone, I stood alone in my kitchen. Dinner dishes still sat on the table, candles burned to stubs. The house was silent except for familiar creaks, the foundation settling, wind in the eaves, sounds of a home that had weathered storms before. I walked to the window and looked over the dark hills. Somewhere out there, Camilla was learning that steel wrapped in lace could still cut deep. That southern manners and silver hair didn't mean weakness. That you should never underestimate a woman who'd spent 71 years learning exactly how the world worked. I exhaled, long and slow, feeling decades of weight lift from my shoulders. The house was still mine. The foundation still stood. And I was still here. The newspaper hit my porch Monday morning with a thud that felt heavier than usual. I carried it inside with my coffee, spread it across the kitchen table, and there it was, front page, below the fold, local woman arrested for fraud scheme against mother-in-law. Camilla's booking photo stared back at me. No pearls. No cream sweater. Just a woman with smudged mascara and wild eyes, looking exactly like what she was, caught. The article laid it out cleanly. The forged documents. The attempted property theft. The fake medical evaluation. Detective Mitchum had given a quote, "This was a calculated scheme to exploit an elderly woman and steal her life's work. Thanks to the victim's diligence and cooperation with law enforcement, justice will be served." I read it twice. Then folded the paper and set it aside. By noon, my phone was ringing. Neighbors. Old colleagues. People I hadn't spoken to in years, all calling to say they'd seen the news. Dorothy from next door brought over a casserole and hugged me so tight I could barely breathe. "Viola Jennings, you are the toughest woman I've ever known," she said, wiping her eyes. "I can't believe what you went through." "I went through it," I said simply. "And I came out the other side." Loretta called Tuesday afternoon with an update. "Camilla's creditors are circling like vultures," she said. "They've seized her car, her jewelry, everything she bought with money she didn't have. And get this, I did some more digging. She's pulled this before." "What?" "Smaller scale, different victims. A former employer in Texas filed a complaint 5 years ago for embezzlement. Charges dropped when Camilla paid restitution. An ex-boyfriend in Oklahoma claimed she forged checks. She's been running scams for years, just never got caught." I was quiet for a moment. "Can we help them? The other victims?" "Already on it," Loretta said. "I've contacted the DA's office. They're building a case for restitution that'll cover everyone she defrauded. Your documentation was the key that opened all the other doors." After we hung up, I sat at my kitchen table and thought about all the people Camilla had hurt before me. People who maybe didn't have a friend like Loretta. Who didn't know how to fight back. I pulled out my laptop and typed up everything I'd learned, every tactic she'd used, every red flag, every manipulation. Then I sent it anonymously to victim advocacy groups across 3 states, with a note, "This is how she operates. Don't let her do it again." It wasn't revenge. It was vaccination. Mark showed up Wednesday evening, just as the sun was setting. He stood on my porch for a long time before knocking. I watched him through the window, saw him gather his courage. When I opened the door, he looked like he'd aged 10 years. "Mama," he said. His voice cracked. "Can I come in?" I stepped aside. He walked to the living room, the room where this had all started, and stood there like he didn't know where to sit. "I'm sorry," he said finally. "I'm so sorry. I should have believed you. I should have listened. I should have." "Sat down," I said gently. "You should sit down." He sank onto the couch. I took Henry's chair across from him. "I trusted her," he said. "I thought she loved me. I thought. God, Mama, I signed things without reading them. She'd hand me her phone, say it was insurance paperwork or account updates, and I'd just sign. I was so stupid." "You were trusting," I said. "There's a difference. I let her convince me you were losing your mind. I doubted you. My own mother." His voice broke completely then. He put his face in his hands and cried, deep, shaking sobs that came from somewhere ancient and wounded. I let him cry. Sometimes that's all you can do. When he finally looked up, his eyes were red and raw. Can you forgive me? I took a slow breath. I already have, Mark. You're my son. I'll always forgive you. Relief flooded his face. But, I continued, forgiveness doesn't mean things go back to how they were. You can visit, son. You're always welcome at my table. But you can't live here anymore. The relief flickered, dimmed. Mama. You need to rebuild your own life. On your own foundation. Not mine. I leaned forward. I love you. But I won't be anyone's safety net again. Not at my age. Not after this. He nodded slowly, understanding settling into his features. That's fair. That's more than fair. He stood. Hugged me carefully, like I was made of glass. I'll do better, Mama. I promise. I know you will, I said. I watched him drive away, his taillights disappearing down the gravel road. And I felt something release in my chest, not anger, not resentment. Just acceptance. My son would find his way. But he'd do it on his own 2 feet. Thursday morning, I bought paint. Pale blue, the color of robin's eggs and summer sky. I spent 2 days repainting my front porch, working slowly, carefully, covering over the old white with something new. Renewal, one brushstroke at a time. Saturday, I called a meeting at the community center. Invited every widow, every retiree, every woman over 60 I knew. 23 showed up, filling the room with silver hair and curious faces. I want to start something, I told them. A group. Support and education for women like us, women who've built lives, raised families, and deserve to keep what they've earned. I told them my story. Not the sanitized version, but the real one, the fear, the manipulation, the moment I'd almost doubted myself. Then I told them how I'd fought back. We're going to call it the Silver Claws Society, I said. Because we've got experience, and we've got teeth. And nobody steals from a woman who knows her worth. The room erupted in applause. Within a month, we had 50 members. Within 2, the local news came to interview us. The reporter, a young woman barely 30, asked me what advice I'd give to other seniors facing exploitation. I looked straight into the camera. Don't assume age means helpless. Don't let anyone make you doubt your own mind. And if someone tries to take what's yours, remember, old lionesses don't retire. They just get more patient. And more dangerous. The clip went viral. Suddenly I was the woman who outsmarted a fraud. National news picked it up. A podcast wanted to interview me. A publisher asked if I'd consider writing a book. I declined most of it. But I saved every message from women who said my story had given them courage to fight back against their own predators. That was legacy enough. On a quiet Sunday in December, I walked out to the oak tree where Henry's ashes rested. The Tennessee hills rolled gold and amber under winter sun. The air smelled like wood smoke and coming snow. I'd brought his old letters, the ones he wrote me during the years we were saving for this house, when he worked double shifts at the paper mill and dreamed in timber and brick. One read, by the time you get this, I'll have saved another $200 toward the foundation. I know it's slow. But good things are built one piece at a time. We'll get there. I promise. We had gotten there. Built it board by board, love by love. And I'd protected it the same way, one piece of evidence at a time, one careful move after another. We did good, Henry, I whispered to the wind. We built something that lasted. I felt his presence then, not ghost, not memory, just the accumulated weight of 40 years together. The foundation he'd promised. The strength he'd given me. I walked back to the house as the sun set, painting everything gold and rose. The porch glowed pale blue in the fading light. Through the window, I could see my kitchen, warm, clean, mine. I settled into my rocking chair on the porch, wrapped in Henry's old quilt, and looked out over the land we'd claimed together. They'd thought my age meant weakness. Thought silver hair meant soft. Thought a woman alone was a woman defenseless. What they forgot was this: old lionesses don't retire. They just get quieter. More patient. They remember every slight, every threat, every challenge to their territory. And when the time comes, they strike clean and final. The house creaked gently beneath me, foundation solid, walls strong, every board a testament to endurance. Camilla had tried to tear it down. Instead, she'd only proven what I'd always known. Some things are built to last. Some women are built the same way. And nobody takes an empire from its queen and lives to brag about it. I rocked slowly as stars began to appear, the house secure behind me, my heart finally clean of bitterness. I had won. Not just the battle, but the war. Not just my house, but my peace. And that, I thought, smiling into the Tennessee dusk, was the sweetest victory of all.